Not only did this genre have great albums in '97, if nu metal was a movie, it would be The Fifth Element.
Rocket launcher, arrow launcher, our famous net launcher, the always sufficient flamethrower. My favorite.
Today we are ranking nu metal albums from 1997, starting with Incubus with Science. This and Fungus Among Us are the only album from this band I would describe as being nu metal. From Morning View on, it's just alternative rock. Regardless, these guys were among my favorite bands in the 2000s, and I still absolutely adore this record, easily earning a spot in their top 3. You've got bangers like A Certain Shade of Green, Vitamin, Redefine, Favorite Things, and New Skin, funky and infectious melodic fare like Summer Romance, and then brain-bending experimental weirdness like Nebula and Magic Medicine. Incredible performances all around with very memorable riffs, wild drumming, and killer DJ work too. This is going to perfection. Next, we have Sevendust with Sevendust. Solid debut from a band that first and foremost I appreciate for really having their own sound, thanks in large part to Lejon Witherspoon's robust, powerful voice. Like, he is easily one of the most talented singers to come out of a scene that was not especially known for that. Some big tracks for them here like Black and Too Close to Hate, Bitch is a banger, Terminator is a funky groover with some Faith No More sounding influences. Not their best work, songwriting and production is a little weak, but a really strong beginning for them. I put them at amazing. Then we got Clawfinger with Clawfinger. We talk about Swedish bands a lot here on the channel, but I don't think ever within the realm of nu metal. They come in strong here with the Middle Eastern elements and a mix of rapid-fire rap vocals with some pretty haunting female ululated clean singing on equal parts aggression and highly atmospheric opener two sides. Also can't help but bang my head to the likes of Hold Your Head Up, Biggest and the Best, Not Even You, and Crazy. More cool melodic fusions on Nobody Knows, strong hip-hop flow on Wrong State of Mind. I had not previously listened to this record, but it ended up being another welcome surprise that I would add to my growing list of underrated releases. I put it at great tier. Then we have Coal Chamber with Coal Chamber. The debut album from another foundational nu metal band, and I'd argue this is up in the top 10 as far as the most important in terms of where the genre would ultimately go. Lots of great tracks here like Bradley, Big Truck, Sway, My Frustration, and of course Loco, which is probably a top 5 important track for nu metal. It's definitely among the first that comes to mind when trying to define it. I will say though, I don't think this one aged quite as well as the two that followed, as the songwriting is a little bit more basic and there is quite a bit of filler in the second half that makes for an uneven listen. So ended up putting it at fantastic. Then we have Saliva with Saliva. The debut album from this band, arguably most known for Click Click Boom off of the next album. A lot of the same hallmarks, though, of that record are already present here, just without the same level of studio polish and a slightly more raw edge. I like opener Beg with its heavier riffs, dingier distortion, and quite a bit of screaming, but sadly this is not a very good summary of the record overall. It still has plenty of that Memphis rock and roll swing on others like Sync and poppier moments like Call It Something. The deeper you get in, the more you realize that this is just another pretty disorganized and somewhat generic rock album with a few heavier points of punctuation. None of these tracks even made their way onto the greatest hits album, if that tells you anything. So put it at okay. Then we got Sugar Ray with Floored. Another band like Incubus that would quickly exit the genre and rocket to mainstream success with their follow-up in 1459. This was their second record following Lemonade and Brownies in 1995, and it goes much harder than the music they are remembered for, though it does contain radio single Fly, which I would argue is the success of that outlier pop track that encouraged them to make the changes that they did. Probably smart as far as your bank account goes. That said, it was reportedly Mark McGrath at the time pushing hardest for heavier tracks with more screaming, and there's still plenty of that in the likes of RPM, Breathe, and the groovy bass-driven Anyone. A little sloppy and unfocused, jumping from metal to hardcore punk to rap and other things, but still enjoyable. I put it at good tier. Then we got Snot with Get Some. Love that we have bands named Saliva and Snot on the same list, all of the bodily fluids coming in. Classic album with more of an emphasis on elements of hardcore as well as funk and just a hint of jazz. I've often quoted the spoken word intro of opener Snot and have been known to blast other killer songs here like Joyride, Get Some, Deadfall, Toccato, and the equal parts funny and ripping My Balls. Heavy use of wah pedal and Lynn Straight's scream makes for a very intense listen. Sadly, both he and his dog Dobbs, featured on the album cover, would be killed in a car accident in December of 1998, so we would never hear where he might have gone from here. I wouldn't say this is as much of a favorite as some of the others on this list, but it's an always fun revisit, so I'm putting it at amazing. Then we have Human Waste Project with E-lux.
Without apology.
The only full-length album from this California band formed in 1993, and another one of the rare cases with female vocals here courtesy of Amy Echo. There is a lot of great energy on here and similarities in sound to Snot in some ways, I would say. The production is also pretty strong as handled by Ross Robinson. Power Ship was the big single, and I also enjoy Slide, Disease, and Drugstore. Unfortunately, there are also some more grating moments as with Exit Wound, where both the songwriting and vocal performance are like nails on a chalkboard for me, and the album in general just feels a little bit unfocused. Still, it was relatively positively received and also earned them a spot at Ozfest and touring with Coal Chamber in 1998, but they ended up disbanding that same year. I'm going to put it at great tier. Then we have Nothingface with Pacifier. The debut full-length from this fan-favorite band, as their self-titled is considered a demo, and several tracks from it ended up being re-recorded for this one. Stronger openers continue with the infectious and head bob-inducing One Thing, followed by the equally infectious Pacifier. Apparently this track was compared a lot to Korn at the time, but it's night and day to me. Also enjoy Lipstick, Self-Punishment with that wah-wah, Defaced, Useless, and Hitch. Another one that's a little bit hit and miss in execution at times, especially in the clean vocal department, but overall a good time, and I actually prefer this to some of their later stuff. This one also went to amazing. Then we got Papa Roach with Old Friends from Young Years. The largely forgotten debut before they blew up with Infest. You can't even find it on their Spotify page, in spite of them, I believe, personally owning the rights to it, which again should maybe tell you something. The leap between this album and the next one is pretty significant. This feels like a pretty generic mix of rap, rock, and metal without nearly the same amount of care in writing memorable songs, and it also just sounds like it was recorded in a garage. Still, it has some stronger points and wasn't painful to listen to like some other albums in this genre can be. Interesting oddity when looking back at their more humble beginnings. This one went to okay. Then we have Head PE with Head PE. Love the unique sound Jared Gomes' voice brings to the table given his mixed indigenous and Afro-Brazilian descent, and he reports influences from Bob Marley and NWA to the Ramones and Black Sabbath, and I also hear a little Cypress Hill in places. I'd actually say that this is probably their best album from front to back. Killer Opener and POS and Serpent Boy is a great collision of Korn riffs and fun braggadocious rap lyrics. Tired of Sleep has a sick stand-up bass hook and beat that reminds me of A Tribe Called Quest, while Spam has more of a punk influence. 33 really traps into that 90s rap sound fitting to the label. This feels like Jared is a rapper first and new metal elements come second. Very diverse and quite consistent. I love it. It's going to perfection. Then we have Guano Apes with Proud Like a God. Another debut, this one out of Germany, and leaning more into the alternative rock side of the spectrum, but there's more than enough rap, funk, programming, and scratching to warrant its inclusion. Open Your Eyes makes for an excellent opener with its incredible sounding bass work on the verses and catchy clean chorus. Also dig Maria and the kind of Rage Against the Machine meets mandolin of Lord of the Boards. Sandra Nasik makes for another strong frontwoman on this list with a powerful voice and fairly strong range from screaming to the softer, almost ginger sounding vibes of tracks like Rain. The highs here are among my favorite songs on this entire list, but some are definitely better than others, so it landed at great tier. Then we got No One Is Innocent with Utopia. France getting on the map here with this sophomore effort. Invisible really getting me going with those ever-driving guitars. Digging the Spanish vocals on Chile, as well as the more industrial, almost ministry-sounding Nomenclatura. Women, Se Que No Savans, and a few others also have some of that industrial groove, more in a Filth Pig and White Zombie style. Always a sucker for the more industrialized nu metal fusions. Also several tracks in French, like the Hypnotic Radio 101 and Amere. A little Primus in Autobahn Babies, another band I was less familiar with, but glad this video pushed me to discover, because this album really is an excellent journey from start to finish. It landed at fantastic. Then we have Body Count with Violent Demise.
No, it's my white got slate, got plate. You stay down, you fuck around in my town, you drown, fuck.
The third album from this rap metal group led by the legendary Ice-T.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
In many ways, I would argue that these guys are almost as important to the formation of nu metal as Korn, as Body Count's debut dropped actually 2 years prior to Korn's self-titled in 1992, alongside Rage Against the Machine's also self-titled debut and Faith No More's Angel Dust. All of the trademark elements of the genre are here, from the infectious grooving guitars to the hip-hop influences to the often juvenile sense of humor of tracks like Strippers. Some fun moments like My Way, You're Fucking With BC, and I Used to Love Her, but another one here I would call pretty inconsistent, at least for my taste. I put it at good tier. Then we have Limp Bizkit with $3 Bill, y'all.
Because you're sick of yourself, well, I'm sick of you too.
People tend to talk the most about follow-up Significant Other and Chocolate Starfish, and to be fair, those albums are stronger in my opinion from both a songwriting and production standpoint, but this debut represents the band at their most raw and heavy overall, and aside from their cover of George Michael's Faith, it also strikes me as a much more serious sounding record. Ripper of an opener in Pollution, followed up strong by Counterfeit with that awesome harmonic riff, and the pit-worthy Stuck after that. It gets a little bit less consistent after that, but I also dig Nobody Loves Me and the more hip-hop focused Indigo Flow with its emphasis on the bass. This track in particular seems to be hinting the most at things to come. This one went to fantastic. And then we have Deftones with Around the Fur. Another one of my favorite bands from back in the day, but one of the few that I'd say still makes the list with its continued solid discography. And another album that I would put in the top 3 of their discography. This one kind of hits the sweet spot of maintaining the pure nu metal vibes of Adrenaline while also incorporating more of their own unique trademark touches before spilling over into something beyond the genre with White Pony. Really every track is notable here, but standouts for me include My Own Summer, Labia, Around the Fur, Head Up featuring Max Cavalera, and one of my all-time favorite songs, period, in Be Quiet and Drive. Absolutely has to make Perfection possibly my favorite album on the entire list. Y'all check out this playlist for more nu metal rankings by year, or this one for nu metal discography rankings, and let me know down in the comments where do we agree, where do we disagree. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.